In life is that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Sia, and welcome to the Non This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of Non This Business Bites. I'm Ben and this is Sia. Now, Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in the woods, and I, being one person, took the road less traveled. And the conversation goes on from there. But you got to think about it. Why don't we take the road less traveled? Why do we, as human beings, always go for the way that everybody else goes? We follow the crowd. We swim with the crowd. We don't want to break from the crowd. We don't want to be seen as doing something different. We don't want to be seen as not normal, quote unquote. We don't want to be the one who disrupts things. We don't want to be the one who raises our hand. And the question is why? Why are we so afraid to take that road less traveled? Why are we so scared to differentiate ourselves, to put ourselves out there, to be that person that sit there and says, you know what? I disagree and this is why. Or actually, you know what? That's a really good suggestion, but have you thought of this instead? And I think we need to start thinking about that in society because we have a whole bunch of people that sit around meetings all day. Somebody gets up and says something. Nobody says yes. Nobody says no. The person in the front of the room sits there and goes, oh, we have consensus on everything. Great. We're going to go ahead. And then everybody leaves the room and says, that was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. You doing that? No, I'm not doing it. Are you doing it? No, I'm not doing it. And the world goes on and it costs us billions of dollars a year. And I think that if we stood up and if we said, you know what, with respect, with honor, you know what, here's another way of looking at this. Or I've thought about this and you know what, I'd love to see if we could try this in a small situation and see whether this works. We're going to put ourselves in a position where we're the one who's being seen as the leader. We're the one who's being seen as not the sheep, but the person who is the person that people want to, depend on and are going to listen to. And everybody says it goes, oh, my boss doesn't want to hear my opinion. They just want us to agree with what they have to say. You know what? Any good boss, if it's done well, if we say it with respect, and if we do it in a way that is not confrontational, should, and I'm underlining the word should, respect that and at least be willing to listen. So Sia, let's know on this.
I'm gonna quote you back something else, and that's my response.
Okay.
All right, are you ready for this, Ben?
I am.
Me. Okay. Ben.
Yes.
If it ain't broke, why fix it?
Oh my God. We've always done it this way.
We've always done it this way.
The world has lived on, we've always done it this way. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. God help the world, because then we're all going to be deaf and blind.
Well, there is some wisdom to it in certain contexts. And in other ways, it is an inhibitor to innovation and growth, right? So, yes, why do we, I think, conform? Is that there is societal pressure to be part of society, to be accepted. We do want to be accepted and liked in general as humans and all that good stuff. So, unfortunately, that's good in a social setting. But when it comes to work and work improvement and the ability to execute on a project or whatever task at hand it might be, that's where there's friction, right? Because so many people are saying, like, look, the processes you've been put in place for a reason. You going all like, Dr. House style and doing your own renegade, whatever, that's going to be a problem, right? So in some contexts, I can see why it's a problem. In others, like military, okay, you can't always do your own thing in the middle of like a very structured, like, coordinated effort, right? However,
And I'll disagree with that, but go ahead.
no, but I would say, but however, as I've talked to a lot of military folks, are like, no, no, we want you guys to have freedom. You know what the end result goal we need to get it at. But if you have to pivot at any point in time, they encourage that, right? So,
Exactly.
and that's what I'm saying though, is unfortunately in business world, again, I don't know why that happens, but it is people are too afraid to step out of bounds because they're going to lose their jobs. So
People are
now,
afraid of risk.
well, but I think
People
it's
are
money
terrified.
motivated. I'm
It
saying it's money
ab-
motivated. Like if I put my foot out
absolutely.
and I get fired, I have no food to feed my family. And I
Hmm.
think that's a bigger inhibitor than societal pressure. I think it's ultimately, remember, I think we were talking in this one episode about needs and wants. Need to make money to feed our family is a
Hmm.
need, right? But I want to voice my opinions and say my boss is an idiot or the process is an idiot or the project is not going to work. That's a big problem because if everyone else is saying it's going to work and you're the one naysayer and you potentially could be kicked out and lose your job, I could see where, yeah, no, I wouldn't say anything.
And that's the trick is that everybody is so afraid to say everything that the emperor walks around without any clothes.
Clothes on.
And that's reality. In more cases than not, things fail because people are afraid to stand up and say, hey, listen, there's an issue with this. And you don't want to call people an idiot. You don't want to call their project an idiot. You don't want to call somebody's baby ugly. But there's a ways of sitting there going, let me understand why you're doing it this way. And I think we need to get back to a place where we can have healthy conflict. And I think we need to have a whole conversation on healthy conflict. But I think we need to take a look and sit there and say it is in our own best interest as companies to build cultures where there is what Bryce Hoffman and Marcus Dimbleby's calls red team thinking, where you have people whose job it is, whose responsibility is what they're being paid to do, to say, hey, a second, what about this? Because too many of us go along with groupthink. Too many of us go along with, just we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to make waves. And all of a sudden, projects get greenlit that never should be greenlit, that never should go ahead, that never should have millions of dollars thrown at them because somebody was afraid to raise their hand and say, hey, wait a second, what about this? There happened, a project where there was a conference going on and they were just about to present this whole new way of thinking. And somebody just before the conference said, wait a second here, have we thought of this? And the executive team canceled the entire presentation. They canceled the launch and shut it down for 6 months because this one fundamental question would have put them in a position where they were going to be throwing millions of dollars out the window. And it made the project that much better. And I think we need to have those people in our world who are not afraid to stand up and say, hey, wait a second here. What about this? What if we thought about it this way? What if we looked at it a little bit differently? Or at least explain to me what's the logic of going this way so I can understand it.
That's a big part.
And I
That's a
think
big part.
it's how we couch it, and I think it's how we present it, and how we present ourselves, and how we present the ideas that enable us to be those naysayers without being the one that has a scarlet letter on their chest.
And I think you're right. As far as you got to be tactful in the delivery of it too, right? So there are certain personality types that will always be contrarians, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's the tone, right? It's the delivery, it's the intention where that contrary opinion is coming from. It, I do know folks that are big on critical thinking, very logical personality types, can rub people off the wrong way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're saying, guys, what about this? But it just comes off as smug or arrogant or just being difficult. Right. And I'm really intrigued to hear, like, what the audience says. You guys, what do you think as far as, what are you guys seeing? I would love to hear and what people say, because sometimes if you're on negative Nellies that are pulling up some valid points, sometimes it does poo poo energy though too. So we gotta be very careful in that dance. That's all I'm
Well,
saying.
I mean, there's a great technique that they do with all ideas are submitted prior to the meeting, and they get put in a hat, and then one person just reads all the ideas. They're not named. There's no attachment to it, and then the ideas get debated on their own merit. And it's not till after the entire thing has been agreed upon and next steps have been put forward that you can either agree or not agree to find out who the actual person was who came up with the ideas. And I think that takes a lot of the pressure out of it, because all of a sudden you're sitting there going, oh God, it's Sia again, or it's Ben again. Oh God, they're coming up with another. Oh God, I don't want to listen to this. And it takes a lot of that away from it. And it gives legitimacy to every single voice, because it's coming out as a piece of paper with an idea on it that's being read by one single person. And then all the ideas are being debated. And it may be, you know what? Do we like this? No. Okay, fine. Let's move on to the next one. And at the end, it becomes far more democratic, and it allows for ideas to shine instead of people to shine.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Ideas to shine. I like shiny stuff. So you
Yes,
already
you
have
do.
me. I'm excited now. Yeah, I have not much to contribute to this thing. I do feel I think ultimately it's communication, right? If you have the comfort level, and I love the idea of that hat and the ideas, if you're open and creative to that, uh, it will promote a much more cohesive environment, because now your opinion is being listened to, right? You
Mhm.
are being heard. And if your opinion, or if your suggestion is a good one, then you'll get rewarded for it. If it's a bad one, at least you'll get the very honest feedback as to why it's not a good suggestion.
Yeah, and I think that we need to get back to a point where we're debating ideas and not debating people.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think that that's really important. And I think that's tough. And that comes from great leadership. That comes great from communication style. That comes from great listing styles. And it comes from a lot of empathy and a lot of, there's a lot of training that goes into that to be able to find a leader that has the ability to get the best out of their team without debating ideas and taking the personalities out of it.
I want to challenge the audience, for those that are in a management level. I would love to get the feedback of, like, someone else try that. Try the cat in the hat idea, please. Throw some ideas out. I'd love to see some, like, responses, say, hey, it worked for us. It did or didn't work. I would love to hear it. So if someone wants to do that, I will be more than happy to sit for an hour and look at your digital content strategy. I will offer my personal time if someone does that, because I
That's
think that
awesome.
I would love to hear the feedback. I
Yeah,
would like to see if it's. I would love to know if what we are gnawing on is BS or not, and practical or not. I want someone to call us out, Ben.
absolutely. And I'm sure somebody will.
Yeah.
There we go.
Are we triple
So
dog daring? We're triple dog daring.
we're triple dog dare you. And with that, let's let it go. So,
Let it go.
no, don't get to me in, because I got to let it snow. Anyway, I'm Ben. This is Zia. We'll see you soon.
Hey, hey, hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Not On This Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me at brilliantbeammedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Not On This Business Bites.